Fit for Life Radio, episode 105. Got the two of us today, Will and Gary.
Just the two of us.
That's Will.
Beautiful voice.
I'm Gary. And today, we're going to shed light on the fact that it's American Diabetes Month.
Nowhere else, though? It's not World Diabetes Month?
I think it's a more pressing issue.
I think that we have the
for America that
the
we
bigger problem.
decide to make November American Diabetes Month. I wonder why they chose November.
I don't know.
Maybe to bring awareness during the time when we're about to
Go ham on some food.
Induce diabetes.
That's probably what it is.
And yeah, we're going to share some facts about that and maybe just highlight a few little effects that exercise and diet can have.
Yeah, how does it affect it? Why would you benefit from it if you do have diabetes or even pre-diabetic or something like that? What does exercise do, and what does changing your diet do in that regard?
So, and we're not really prescribing anything, more just talking.
We're not doctors.
Yep.
We're just kind of throwing knowledge out there. Always ask your doctor.
Some information, some statistics.
Let's hit it. Let's hit the ground running.
All right. So the American Diabetes Association says 30 million Americans have diabetes.
Holy shit.
It's the 7th leading cause of death in the United States. And a person's weight is a major factor. Exercise and proper eating are important in preventing and managing diabetes.
That's the whole episode.
So the ADA says some steps we can take to prevent type 2, which will go into a little bit difference of type 1 and type 2, but according to the ADA, steps to prevent type 2, which is the most common form, is stay at a healthy weight, eat well, and be active. With these steps, you can stay healthier longer and lower your risk of diabetes.
That's it. So just maintain a healthy body weight and be active.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of people, you have to understand, people get upset about the scale and body weight, but the bottom line is there's a lot of numbers that correlate with these BMI range body fats of, hey, if you stay in this body weight for your height and gender, good things happen.
Yeah.
Or bad things don't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So what happens is when you aren't in that range, it's discomforting and we try to kind of maybe avoid it, out of sight, out of mind. But the reality is there's a lot of connections. So as the ADA states, those are some key factors. Healthy weight, maintain a healthy weight, eat well, and be active. So what does that look like? Or for one, what does type 2 diabetes look like? The ADA defines type 2 diabetes as characterized by high blood glucose levels caused by either a lack of insulin or the body's inability to use insulin efficiently. Type 2 diabetes develops most often in middle-aged and older adults, but can appear in young people.
I think it's getting more and more common in young people, too.
And why? So a general observation is, people are becoming an unhealthier weight at younger ages, which then kind of starts that process.
And people, activity level is rather low in the general population, and then their food habits are not very good either, and people put on weight. And if you notice the obesity statistics for younger people are way higher than they were 20 years ago, and for everyone in general, but mainly if you look at young people, it's kind of staggering how much it's gone up over the past, probably we can say 20 years, maybe even 30. We'll say 30 because the 80s is kind of where things ramped up a lot.
And one key thing to realize, so type 2 diabetes, like they said, is caused by either a lack of insulin or the body's inability to use insulin efficiently. Type 1 diabetes is actually kind of not necessarily completely different, but type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease.
Yeah, it's a different manifestation.
So your body's like pancreas
like
actually,
you don't make insulin.
yeah, or you do, but it's slowly declining your
Yeah.
ability to, and those insulin producing cells slowly die off, and then yeah, you need insulin because your body just simply can't produce it.
Because you got to be able to clear your, you know, your blood glucose and stuff.
Whereas,
Otherwise, it just builds up.
yeah. Whereas type 2 is more, it's not necessarily that your pancreas is dying, you know, its cells are dying, you know, it's more your body's ability. So typically what we see is as you maybe gain weight and our body just starts to be inefficient with stuff, or we kind of abuse it in a way, and
I
its
mean, yeah,
its
that's what it is.
processes get less efficient. So it's like we're just always in this state of always eating snacky stuff,
Being stressed,
high insulin levels, and
poor
everything.
sleep.
Yeah, everything gets insufficient, and you can't clear it. So then your glucose levels are high, and then
Yeah.
our A1C is up, and then it leads to developing type 2 diabetes. But then what happens is that we see a lot when you lose weight, your insulin sensitivity improves. You can actually basically get rid of type
you
2
reverse
diabetes. So
And
that is where
I think it's interesting to think of, for the most part, like at a certain point though, like you do say you've had type 2 diabetes, you know, for a very long period of time, and like you will, I think, stop producing insulin like towards the end stages of it, like when it's pretty bad. But for the most part, you almost think of it as more of a state of being that is influenced by, you know, what you do and where your body's at. So it's not just that, like, you know, you catch diabetes or something. It's just that is where you've ended up, you know, slowly over time. Because you didn't just one day wake up and boom, you had diabetes, unless you have type 1 diabetes. But so it's just a state of being that can be influenced.
Yeah.
Rather than like, I have this disease or I don't. It's more of a sliding scale overall, and there's a certain period of time, a certain classification when we identify that somebody has diabetes.
Yeah. And the unfortunate thing is sometimes it goes undiagnosed or untreated. People don't change their lifestyle, don't stay on maybe taking their insulin, monitoring their blood glucose, and then that's how you end up needing, you know, losing limbs and things like that.
I mean, foot amputations and leg amputations are common if you've had diabetes for a long time and you haven't managed it as well as you could have.
Yeah. And a lot of times we just aren't informed enough on the basics to realize some of the cause and effect of what we eat. I had a consult with a lady a couple weeks ago, and she mentioned that she was type 2 diabetic, and she was frustrated because she was eating what she thought was a healthy breakfast. She told me she was having cornflakes and peaches, and then she would check her blood, and it would be up in like
spike
over 200, and she's like, I don't know why, like, this is a good breakfast. And I explained how they're both carbohydrate foods, and typically eating carbohydrates alone, and you know, cornflakes are processed, so they're going to be higher glycemic. There's no fat or protein paired with it, and typically I would expect that to happen.
Yeah, for really anybody, if you just you know, slam down a bunch of carbs. Like,
and then she mentioned, well, where are the carbs? And she just didn't know
she
that
had no idea.
cornflakes and peaches were a carbohydrate. You know, and then imagine, and she even was trying, right?
Yeah, like she was trying to make a good decision and something she thought was a solid choice.
Yeah. So even trying, if she didn't eventually catch that, then you could end up with a lot of problems and complications, right? So it's a nuanced topic. And then the deeper questions, well, why hasn't she been educated?
Yeah.
Or did she?
Or
and
was she and she didn't understand?
Didn't absorb it and needs more. Like, I'm not completely sure what the process is from when you meet with like your doctor or practitioner. And
what do they give you?
Yeah, what that
they
looks
probably
like.
just give you a sheet of paper and tell you one thing and move on.
Yep. And it's real.
Yeah.
It's out there. I mean, this is where diet and exercise, again, there's benefits too, like drugs, and sometimes people need insulin and
Oh yeah.
metformin, things like that work great. But I always like to think about, if it were me, you still, hey, what can I control? So we know some of those factors are how we move our body, when we move our body, if we move our body,
Mm-hmm.
and what we put inside it. Right. At the
Absolutely.
end of the day, we're grown ups. No one, think about it. It's crazy how we have. If there's one thing in this like life that we have almost ultimate control over, it's what we're putting inside our mouths.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot that
There's a lot of underlying factors.
to that draws, but yeah, no other grown person is coming and sticking a spoon of food in your mouth and forcing you to eat something.
Yeah.
So
So you are in control, however
Mhm.
difficult or painful it might be to make.
now, obviously,
Choices.
we're not saying that's easy, because there's environmental factors and
And we've
emotions.
talked about that.
Yeah.
And we did the
The how, why, what.
and then we did the episode on how like being overweight or being obese makes it even harder to change your
Yep.
eating and things like that. So that's a good listen if you haven't listened to that one. So yeah, there's a lot involved. So we're not trying to tell everybody that's easy or anything like that.
Yeah. And if you think you might be at risk, like, talk to your doctor.
Yeah.
If you've been diagnosed or you're not sure about proper eating and exercise,
I mean, it's an easy thing to get checked too.
yeah, that's a good place to start.
It's not super invasive. They just do a blood test and you're pretty good.
Now, what we know on how exercise helps, physical activity helps lower blood pressure, or lower
Yeah,
blood
it
pressure,
does lower blood pressure.
lower blood glucose, HDL cholesterol, and triglycerides. It lowers the risk for pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. It relieves stress. It strengthens the heart, muscles, and bones. It improves blood circulation and tones muscles. And it improves flexibility and reduces inflammation.
I mean, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Sold.
Lots of reasons to be physically active. One problem too is, as we mentioned, so typically people do develop type 2 diabetes later in life, just because it takes time to put ourselves kind of in this state. But we're seeing it happen more often when, as younger and younger. But in general, the double whammy here is people develop it later in life. We're less likely to start new habits later in life. So when we develop something like that, say we have not been someone who goes to the gym or exercises or is physically active, we think that it's too late to start.
Yeah.
So now you have something that can make a big impact, but we don't even want to start it.
Yeah, because you feel like you're having to roll a ball up a hill essentially to even get anywhere when you're when we're all set in our ways and our behaviors and our ways of thinking, and it is harder to change the longer you've been alive. It's just what it is, and that's an obstacle to overcome, but it's not impossible.
And one thing we always talk about, and the ADA agrees with, is there's immense benefits to just walking.
Yes.
So the ADA says, even if you've never exercised before, you can find ways to add physical activity to your day. Even if your activities aren't strenuous, you'll get health benefits.
Yeah. So just walk.
Mm-hmm.
You could literally just walk every day. Just go out and walk. And that would be a good start. And that can kind of help snowball things when you can accomplish something like that and be like, you know what? I got this down. I want to do a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then you're, a little more likely to succeed because you've already succeeded at one thing.
And if you want to talk about being most effective with especially our blood glucose, they found if you take a 10-minute walk after you eat, it lowers your blood glucose.
Yeah.
Right.
Helps
So
you digest food better. It's great.
So right there, and some studies have even found it has a similar, same, or better effect than metformin, which is a drug for diabetes that helps your blood glucose levels and things. And it's simple. It's free. It's 10 minutes.
Yeah. Eat, go walk.
It just needs to be a habit.
And it doesn't have to be a fast walk. It doesn't have to be a jog. Just go for a literal stroll around the block as slow as you need it to be, and you'll be all right.
Yep. And then with eating, same thing. We're trying to control that blood glucose response,
Yeah,
our sugar levels. So when, like we mentioned before, when you eat just carbohydrates, it's typically going to cause a bigger insulin spike. But when you pair a carbohydrate
it
food,
dulls that spike
yeah, when you
pair it.
pair it with like a protein or a fat, then it kind of dulls the huge peak spike. And that's typically recommended to kind of pair those foods together. Don't eat carbohydrates by themselves. In
And
general, obviously if you have less carbohydrates overall, it
that's
can
helpful.
manage it a little better.
I think a lot of people find, and this isn't for everybody, nor is it a prescription, but doing like lower carb or lowering their carbs in general, doesn't even have to be technically low carb, helps a lot of people that
Hmm.
have diabetes or just pre-diabetes. Whether it helps them with just the consistency. Overall, it helps lower your blood glucose and stuff. But
If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3 hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out. If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3 hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
The low carb may even help them just stay more consistent with how they eat because they're less tempted. They've kind of made a hard rule around eating less carbohydrates, so that limits their junk food and processed food. So that can be another big one as well.
Yeah. And ultimately, just being more aware.
Yeah,
You know, you'll
and just knowing, having some knowledge around it too, is very helpful.
with diet and exercise, as we mentioned before, I think another big barrier to entry is just people think they need to do the extreme stuff.
Yeah,
Um, but
and,
the
and that can be overwhelming to think about.
but we normally, develop type 2 diabetes over time, so it's not like it happens overnight.
Yeah,
So you don't have to eliminate
Yeah.
everything. Again, if you can manage a healthy body weight, that goes such a long way. Just
Yeah.
because the statistics show, um, you know, typically if we become overweight and obese with our body composition, you are much more likely to become a type 2 diabetic.
Yeah.
So just managing that, which for some people, all you need to do is just weigh in every day.
Yeah. Just be accountable to that.
And you'll make, even almost subconsciously,
Better
the
choices.
decisions needed to not watch your weight go up every single year, you know?
Yeah, that's a big benefit. And then strength training's a big part of it too. We talk activity. There's a lot of benefits from just some basic strength training. Heck, you could do 2 days a week. But that's for one, again, we've talked about it as a keystone habit for a lot of people. A lot of people change their diets inherently when they start exercising, and that can be a helpful for your diabetes. And then with strength training, you improve your insulin sensitivity. With muscle too, as you build muscle, that improves your insulin sensitivity. So it's a good bang for your buck for people to do. And again, you might start with walking, and then maybe progress once you feel like you got a handle on that to adding in a little bit of strength training every week. And then you're kind of like building your way up slowly to helping yourself.
Yeah, and there's quite a few studies, especially in the last 6-7 years, it looks like, on resistance training for the management of type 2 diabetes. And basically it does have unique benefits, whereas, like we mentioned, walking and cardio has always been encouraged. But resistance training, because of the way you're contracting your muscles, it uses up glucose to do that. And then your body becomes better and more likely to store glucose in your muscles for future use.
Endeavors.
If you don't do that, then your body, it may be a pathway that it kind of skips over because it's like, we don't ever do this.
Yeah, like it's not
this.
needed, so your body's not going to do something that's not needed. We're super efficient and adaptive.
Yeah, I'm reading through here. There was a study in, this one is 2016, resistance training and type 2 diabetes. And this is on the ADA. Then here's another one, 2017, resistance training to improve type 2 diabetes. Resistance training induced gains in muscle mass. And that's not solely responsible for improved muscle substrate metabolism in type 2 diabetes, which basically is saying a lot of times people would contribute, if you have a little more muscle, that's also going to help. Maybe that's the benefits of resistance training, but it's not. There's other pathways. And trying to find the takeaways here. The big thing is the interaction with our mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell.
I think everybody knows that. Isn't that what we're taught in school, in science? When we do the cell, everyone just knows that the
You have
mitochondria
flashbacks to a
is
test
the powerhouse of the
where
cell.
that was just the answer you put for everything
Yeah.
in biology.
I got one right.
Obviously, like we mentioned, if you have more muscle, less body fat, that's an improved body composition. There's definitely benefits to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in general, like we like to point out, everything always comes back to
Always, man.
the essential basics that we try to have as a recurring theme through everything, so that you don't feel overwhelmed, because this is fit for life, not fit for
your 30s.
bodybuilding show, for your professional sports league.
Nah.
And what you see is, as far as we get so much progress and benefits from walking, right? If you do a 10-minute walk daily after a meal, your biggest meal, or just a 30-minute walk daily, whatever you can do.
Or a few days a week of some resistance training
Mhm.
of some kind, whatever it may
2
be. Heck,
to
2
4
days. 2 days works great.
Yeah, 2 to 4 days a week of resistance training. These things, and again, you can go back to, will help you build muscles to look better at the beach. It will also help you maybe keep off developing type 2 diabetes. It will help your mood. It will help you sleep better. And then obviously, better sleep in turn will help your mood and help
Yeah,
your
it's just-
exercise endeavors. So,
It's such
before-
a loaded dice of stuff that you get from it.
yeah. And before you worry about minutia and details, if you're not even executing the basics consistently, it's just not going to matter.
Yeah.
You know, working with a client and having them do a photo food journal, which is just taking pictures of the stuff you already eat. It's more about, can you do this? Because all you have to do, it's not even pressing too hard on what you're eating. It's take a picture and send it, right?
That's it.
Photo food journal. And sometimes that can be hard to do consistently. And then maybe questions arise about, well, what about macros? Maybe I should do a macro approach. And then the reality is, well, now you're asking, you need to try and consistently hit a protein, a carb, a fat. So now that takes a lot of work.
That takes even more than taking
Because you need to know exactly what's going into your food, your portions.
You have to weigh everything.
Yep, which typically means weighing everything you eat, which also means cooking everything you're going to eat. So if you are struggling to just take a picture,
Yeah, then
and do
all
that
those other
consistently,
steps is not going to be what for you.
making it harder on yourself is not going to be the answer.
Yeah.
Because the fundamental issues still aren't there and need to be there for the, say, macro or more detailed approach to work. Because if you're not preparing majority of your meals already,
Yeah.
it's just going to be a harder challenge and make things even tougher. Same thing, if you can't find 10 minutes to go for a walk outside of your door so you don't have to drive anywhere.
Yeah.
You don't have
Trying
to-
to plan a 5-day-a-week workout program
Mhm.
is just not going to be the answer for you.
Yeah, where you're at the gym for 2 hours and you got to drive there for 20 and 15 minutes. So now that's 3 hours
Yeah.
of a day, 5 days a week. So you're going from
I can't find 10 minutes
to,
I'm
I'm going to make 15 hours in my week.
Yeah. Which is not reasonable.
Hmm.
So just start with the easy thing. It doesn't have to be hard. And sometimes we try to make it harder or more complicated than it is, thinking that
Yeah,
the more thought out the plan is, the better.
yeah,
And we know that planning things and having the perfect plan feels good to do anyways, just the planning part of it. And I think a lot of people get stuck in that cycle of just always building up. I'm planning on doing this. It's the perfect plan. And then executing never happens.
yeah. So same thing. If I had type 2 diabetes, yeah, it can be overwhelmed. Oh, I gotta get. If I lose all this weight, I might be able to get off this insulin and improve things. Oh, but then it's overwhelming. Where do I start? I would start with walking after a meal, and then maybe finding a place that I feel confident. Resistance training twice a week,
And that might be like at a place like
and
our
now
gym.
I'm getting a routine with that. It's doable. It's sustainable. Now it's maybe easier to be more interested in changing the way I eat a little bit, or being more consistent with the things I already know I need to be doing. And then you get that snowball effect. And you may then find you don't have to go any further. Oh, I'm losing weight. Oh, my blood glucose levels are improving. My A1C is improving.
And you don't need anything else.
And you didn't have to go any further than adding in a walk and some resistance training
Yeah.
and pairing protein with
Don't
your
make
meals.
it more complicated than it needs to be. But it does require change though. So don't misinterpret that. Like, change is difficult,
Yeah.
but it can be simple if we take small steps.
Yep. Just like changing to cooking more of your meals isn't one change. It's
Yeah.
not, oh, well, it also means, well, now you might have to learn how to cook. Now you might have to make sure you grocery shop.
Yeah, you got to make a grocery list. You got to plan
Yeah.
all your stuff out.
So now it's more than just one change. That's why. Same, even walking, right? Well, now you have to make sure you have, really actually walking's like, just step outside your door.
Walking's a
Most
pretty
people
simple
already
one.
have
Overall.
already have shoes and a jacket, right?
And you can just go.
So really all you have to do is look at your schedule and carve out 10 minutes.
Yeah. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And if you're listening to this podcast, you can do that while you're walking.
Yeah.
Highly,
Yeah. Hey,
highly
put on a
recommend it.
podcast while you walk. That's a good one. Get some greenery in your life, if you happen to live near greenery.
All right. Now I have to know,
What do you need to know?
why is November
They just decided it, man. That's it.
Diabetes Awareness Month?
There's not gonna be a good answer.
I don't think I'm gonna get one.
Nah, there's not even a good. Someone just decided. Probably because all the other months are something else. It's Movember. I don't know if that's anything to do with it. Not really.
Isn't it also No Shave November?
No shave. No. Is that still a thing? We still do that? I thought everyone was just growing mustaches.
Yeah, it is a great cause, though. I mean,
Yeah.
the crazy thing is how many people have it and don't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the benefit of bringing awareness to it.
Yep.
Which hopefully, at the bare minimum, just doing this episode this month can help with.
Yeah, maybe bring a little awareness to it. Go get your physical. Get your blood sugar checked. That's the first step. Just that's the
Yeah.
easiest way to know is just go get a physical and they'll tell you. And hopefully you have a decent doctor that educates you and helps you through the process.
Mm-hmm. So if you are curious, as far as diagnosing diabetes, according to the Cleveland Clinic, you could be diagnosed with a version of diabetes if your blood glucose after fasting and before a meal test at 126 milligrams per deciliter or higher. So
Yeah.
your fasting blood glucose is over 126.
Yeah.
Your random blood glucose is 200 or higher. And you receive a result of 6.5 or higher on the hemoglobin A1C test, which shows how much glucose has attached to the hemoglobin in your red blood cells on average over the past 3 months. That's the main one, I know, because
yeah.
if you get like to 6 or close to 6, it's like pre-diabetes.
Yeah, and then
And that's where you
anything
get
beyond that-
warning signs. If you're getting kind of like yearly checks, that's normally a given.
Yeah, that's a flag.
Actually, yeah. So pre-diabetes is typically when your A1C is the range of 5.7 to 6.4.
Okay. Yeah.
The CDC estimates that in the United States, 88 million people have pre-diabetes, and 84% don't know they have it.
Holy Jesus.
And just to reiterate, some bad things that can happen with diabetes is it puts you at risk for nerve damage, cardiovascular disease, foot and limb injuries, vision problems, and other complications that arise
A lot of stuff.
from having uncontrolled blood sugar. So it should not be taken lightly. And it's tough because it's one of those things where you don't necessarily feel it.
No.
Oh, some people don't ever feel it, but typically you could feel the symptoms, but not really
And they might not be extreme enough to where you even care. You're like,
connect the
whatever. I
dots.
just feel
Yeah,
kind of off.
it could be like blurred vision,
Yeah.
things like that.
But yeah.
And we'll have missed some of this, but the diabetes awareness theme. So week 1, November 1st through 7th, is Step Up Awareness. So the first thing to do is to educate yourself, says the ADA.
Boom.
Boom.
Done.
So kind of little packets of information and
Educated.
some of the stuff we're trying to do on here, just educate, bring some awareness, step up awareness.
Yep.
Week 2, November 8th through 14th, is Step Up Detection. So knowing the risk factors for type 2 diabetes is one of the first steps in preventing the disease.
Yeah, knowing when to go get checked out.
And which the biggest one is obviously your A1C.
Yeah.
Week number 3, November 15th through 21st, is Step Up Management.
Okay.
So help people living with diabetes thrive. The ADA provides healthy recipes at diabetes.org/food hub and a healthy living newsletter. Week 4, November 22nd through 28th. I feel like having this during the month of Thanksgiving is
Yeah.
challenging, but I guess it
Yeah.
helps with the awareness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Week 4, November 22nd through 28th, is Step Up and Thrive. So the group encourages those inspired by the previous steps, which was management, detection, awareness, to be advocates for more funding, healthcare access, and affordable treatments.
Okay. I agree
Yeah.
with it all.
Mm-hmm.
Step up.
So that's the biggest thing, is get checked, make sure, do the things you can control.
Yeah. Because we can control. There are some things we can't control in life, but eating and moving ourselves in some way are generally something we can control.
Yep.
So, especially if you're an adult, you have full autonomy to do whatever you want, which can be scary sometimes.
And just one thing. So some symptoms, so we can kind of
Yeah. so you
touch
can-
on the, what was it, week 3 or week 2 diagnose,
two.
to maybe be, on awareness for,
What do
and
we
then
got?
definitely reach out to your doctor. So some symptoms for type 2 diabetes: increased thirst,
That's a big one.
frequent urination, increased hunger, unintended weight loss, fatigue, blurred vision, slow healing sores, frequent infections.
Boom.
Yep.
So
And-
get checked out.
Just to share, my wife, she has type 1 diabetes. And at first, this is why it's important to go to your doctor. She had those symptoms and started Googling around, especially the increased thirst, frequent urination, and unintended weight loss. All of them to a drastic degree to where, like, you can't not notice
You can't
almost.
ignore it, yeah.
And then she got misdiagnosed as having type 2 diabetes, which, again, they're different.
Yeah.
And the treatments are different. But luckily, she, got a second opinion, and then, did some tests and found out she had type 1 diabetes. So that's why it's important, too, to make sure you know what you have.
Yeah.
Whether it's type 1 or type 2. There's now it's like a spectrum.
Yeah, type 1.5.
So there's like type 1.5, which then isn't just one thing either. They're learning a lot about it. But the point is, she was starting to like lose her hair maybe a little too. You want to be aware, find
Yeah.
out, and then you can get on the proper
And
treatment.
then, you can
So,
manage it the best you
yeah.
can.
And her blood glucose levels, when she finally went and got tested, were like in the 300s. Like
Which is nuts.
it would have been if you just keep living like that, it's going to cause a lot of problems.
Imagine a couple years
So-
down the road, that would have caused a lot of
Yeah.
issues.
But then she's able to manage it well with metformin and exercise and diet, right?
Yeah.
Keeps the blood glucose in check, and you monitor it and everything and stay on top of it. And then all those symptoms go away. All right. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
National Diabetes Month, bringing some awareness to it, because it is super common. Like we saw, I think I saw another statistics where essentially like 25% of people like over 40 or over 50 have it,
I saw
type 2.
1 in 5
So
people between 12 and 18 are pre-diabetic. 1 in 5.
that's not looking good.
and
for
then
the
1 in
future.
4, I think, in their, from like 18 to 25 or so, 1 in 4 were pre-diabetic as well. That's a high percentage, man. That's too
Mhm.
many.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to spread the good word, doing the best we can.
Again, diabetes awareness.
If you feel any of those symptoms like out of nowhere, well, it's not like they don't have to be out of nowhere, but if they persist, it's good to go get checked. Worst case scenario, they tell you, tell you have diabetes, but like, they can just say it's nothing.
It's not that.
Yeah, like
something
it's
else.
not that. I guess it's not worst case scenario, but so I would go get checked, and then you can always help it. So, no biggie.
All right. I think
this week.
that's all we got.
That's it.
That's our awareness, detection, management, step up and thrive.
Step up.
And if you want more information, the ADA,
the American Diabetes Association.
Check them out. They have, let's see here, diabetes.org. And they got tons of resources, kind of all these statistics, tips,
Tricks.
ways to help, get involved, community stuff, all that. So check that out if you're interested in more. Diabetes.org. O-R-G.
O-R-G.
All right, everybody.
All right, take it easy.
See you guys, girls.
As always, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to learn more, check us out at coastalfitnessva.com or garydeagle.com. We'll see you next time.